So I'm sitting down having a conversation with my father about what he should be doing with his Toyota Sienna lease. It's up this month and he's looking for the replacement. He's thinking to himself, does it make any sense to buy out the lease? What should I be doing? A ton of questions are surfacing, and what I wanted to do was make this video so that you have a sense for what my conversation entails when I'm answering this question. What should I be doing with my current lease? What is happening, guys? Ari here from Boston Automotive Consulting, and as always, this video is brought to you by SaveOnMyAuto.com. SaveOnMyAuto.com is a resource you can use so that you can shop around for the best possible deal. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, because this whole channel is dedicated to teaching you everything you need to know so that you can negotiate your best possible deal. So my father's Toyota Sienna lease ends this month. He's looking to get into another minivan. He's very much unsure whether or not he wants another Toyota Sienna or if he wants a Honda Odyssey. However, we are shopping around for the best deal. Now, the main issue wasn't so much turning in the lease and then getting another deal at a very good price. We're very much unsure whether or not the prices that we're getting right now aren't going to go down in the future. So the idea behind extending the leases is for a few different reasons. They're for about 6 reasons, what I'm about to list off in this video. And one of the major ones was, by extending the lease, it's not costing you anything except for what you're about to pay for the monthly payment. It's not going to add any other additional expenses to your final bill. In fact, what you're doing when you're extending the leases, you're just literally copy pasting additional months and additional miles to your existing contract. You're doing it per month. So if you're extending it, and say you're extending it by 6 months, you don't have to keep the car an additional 6 months. You can get out of the lease or break the lease 2 months after the lease was extended. The idea behind it is it gives you enough time on a rolling basis so that you can make your decision, very much so how my dad is trying to make his decision on what to do. So say you extended it and you had this idea in your mind, you only wanted to extend it for about 6 months, but then you ended up securing the deal 2 months in. You could just break whatever extension you had left, turn in the vehicle, and just be done with the lease altogether. This creates an easier negotiation situation for anybody that's just waiting for the best deal to come about. That way they don't have to be locked into their current lease. They can just go month to month. So the second reason why it's imperative you have to extend your leases is that dealers, they're not focusing on the main problem. The main problem that dealers are having is the real shortage, the real issue at hand is that there's a shortage of new cars. The more pressure they put on the factories to produce new cars, the quicker we'll resolve this situation. By not extending your lease, by turning in your lease early, or not early, but on time, you're further making the problem worse by letting dealerships continue to get a stream of used cars to come in so that they can sell customers. Right now, dealers are profiting off of used cars the most. They're selling used cars for about 20 to 30% more than they were last year. The idea is, by you returning your leased vehicle, you're providing the dealer a very easy way for them to get inventory and sell it for a lot higher of a price than they were last year. In fact, it's more profitable for them to do this as opposed to sell new cars. So the more and more we can delay that happening, we can encourage them to solve the main issue at hand. Once they have a healthy supply of new cars, we can start to talk about getting a healthier negotiation environment back as we were, say, before COVID took place to begin with. Number 3, by extending your lease, it creates leverage in negotiation. What I mean by this is that, say you're getting the follow-up calls, hey, Mr. X, have you decided what you're going to be doing? Or, hey, Mr. X, we'd love for you to come in so we can discuss your options. By telling them that you're extending your lease month to month because you're waiting for a better deal to take place, you're creating leverage when you're negotiating. The reason why I say this is because if dealers know that you're waiting for a better deal to come about, they're going to want to create a better deal so that they can finally take you off of their follow-up list. if they're following up with you all the time, it's costing them time. It's costing them time, and they want to just get rid of your name off of their screen. They want to stop calling you. They want to stop bothering you just as much as you want them to stop bothering you. So the idea is that if you extend your lease, it makes it seem like you know what you're doing, you know what you're after, and you're not settling for what's available right now. If you can create this sort of leverage, you can create an environment where you're deciding when you're going to be signing, and by doing this, you're definitely creating a better negotiation environment. Not to mention, they want their hands on your lease return. So number 4, this is something that I constantly suggest to people. If we don't have a clear indication of what that car is actually worth, if we're going to be using values that are hyperinflated or they're a result of a shortage of new cars, we can't really decide, hey, you know, in the case of my father, does it make sense to be buying this minivan and just not have a payment altogether in a few years? Like, my father was weighing out the idea of, does it make sense for me to buy out this minivan? And I told him at the moment, no. So the idea is if we can begin to normalize or see the values come to a normal sort of what's it actually worth, what's the real market value, we can get a clearer sense of what we should be doing. Right now, my father is forced to turn in the lease because the value of the vehicle is not what it's actually worth. So if we can get a clearer indication of what the car is worth, we can decide, okay, do I buy the vehicle? Do I try to trade it in as opposed to just turning it in? Or do I sell it to a third party and try to handle this a little bit differently than I was originally intending to? Because values are all over the place, it's very, very easy to sign a deal that's encompassing of maybe some other damage that you had on the car, some excess miles, all in an effort to make things convenient. Number 5, let's be real here. If you're a lease customer trying to turn in your lease, you're likely to be trying to lease another vehicle. Because lease deals are not exactly the prettiest things that you could be seeing on the market right now, it's a really, really good idea to extend your lease and wait for things, again, to normalize. Right now, what people are doing, what they're being encouraged or sold on, are purchase deals and used cars. The reason why is because there are no major incentives to be signing a lease. Residuals are down, money factors or interest rates rather are high, so it just doesn't make sense to be leasing, or rather they're not as pretty as they were maybe when you signed that lease deal 3 years ago. So the idea behind this is that if you're a lease customer trying to return their lease, if you're trying to sign another one, you're going to be facing a payment that's substantially higher than whatever you were paying over the course of these last 3 years. If you can, extend the lease, that way you get a little bit prettier of a payment, say 3 to 6 months from now, hopefully. Number 6, it doesn't hurt to just have some extra time to see what else is going to come on the market, to see if you can do better, to see if at all, if it makes sense for you to just not lease the next car and just buy another one. Think about your circumstance. Think about your actual needs a little bit further. A lot of times when we make these decisions, we're so pressed, we're so hurried to make the decision that we just make it and we just literally duplicate whatever we had before. So the idea is to just take your time with it, see if you can do better, see if maybe, hey, I don't actually need this big of a car, maybe I should test drive other cars. Use the time to try and clarify exactly what your needs are. Given that we just went through a major pandemic, and maybe for some of us it wasn't exactly clear whether or not we were actually prepared for this pandemic financially, it may make sense to just revisit your needs and your financial ability for these lease payments altogether, especially because they may be higher than they were 3 years ago. The idea is, if you buy yourself some more time, even if you extend the lease and you make your next payment, and then a couple days after you make your next payment, you got the deal that you were looking for, you can always date the new contract for the end of the month. That way you use up whatever payment that you just made on the existing lease. You use that throughout the month, take delivery of the new car at the end of the month. Everybody goes home happy. Hope this video all made sense. Hope this video gave you a perspective why I think it just makes more sense to just extend your lease right now as opposed to just making your decision now. As always, this video was brought to you by SaveOnMyAuto.com. You can use SaveOnMyAuto.com to be leveraging the best possible deal by shopping around to multiple dealerships. If you found this information useful, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to visit SaveOnMyAuto.com as well as the resources down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.